Weekly Live for June 30th, 2024. I'm Peggy Kay, and today there are updates for YouTube, for website and blog owners, and for social media, and a bunch more. First, to get started, I want to say happy summer. It's pretty warm here. I'm kind of perspiring, and I can't believe that the year is half over, for Pete's sake. I'm kind of speechless about that. The time has flown by really, really quickly. One of the things that I noticed this week is that there were a lot of smaller updates. I suspect this is related to the July 4th holiday in just a few days, and they probably were trying to push out things with that. And I'm getting a bit of an error message here, so bear with me for a moment. I just want to make sure that everything is working as expected. And if you're here and it's hot where you are, I hope you're staying cool. Let me know what you think about this week's updates, because there are a lot of them. And I'm not going to get to all of this week's updates that were in the newsletter this week. So if you want all the links, if you want all of the links, all of the news, all of the tips, check out this week's blog post, or be sure to subscribe to my newsletter. It's on Beehive. You get that free in your email inbox every Saturday. So let's get started. And I see Craig and Jolynn are here in the live chat. And he says, I hear you just fine. That's great. When I first went live, I'm using Restream. It came up with this error message. I'm like, oh, that's a new twist. So let's get started. The first thing I wanted to talk about are a bunch of new updates that YouTube announced for YouTube Premium subscribers. So these are updates for viewers rather than creators. And these are really actually pretty neat. So if you have YouTube Premium, that gives you ad-free experience. You can download videos for offline watching, and you should also check out these new features. You can jump ahead to your next favorite moment on YouTube. What that means is that YouTube is using a combination of viewership data and AI, whatever that means. So you can jump ahead to where it thinks the next best scene is in a video. As someone who makes videos, I'm a little weird about this, because is it like, well, people are going to be jumping over the actual video, but YouTube has said that they don't think it should hurt creators. It'll be interesting. This is available to US premium subscribers on Android and coming soon to iOS devices. The next thing that they mention is smart downloads of shorts. So if you watch shorts, and you can watch them offline, the thing is they're obviously really short, so you wouldn't want to have to download them individually. So YouTube is smartly downloading a queue of shorts to watch while you're offline. And then you get early access to experimental features. If you are a YouTube Premium subscriber, you should go to youtube.com/new. That's the link on the screen here. that will show you which experiments you can enable for your account. There are smart downloads to shorts and conversational AI. So this is like a chatbot. You can ask about the video you're watching. You can ask for related recommendations, and a redesigned watch page, which is sort of controversial. Some people love it, some people hate it. Be sure to send feedback. All right, so I see there's more folks in the chat. Welcome, welcome. If you're using YouTube Premium, I'd love to know how you like these new experimental features, because YouTube is making sort of a big deal of that. This is a big perk for being a paying subscriber. Eileen says, I just turned off the experiment for the watch page, and of course I sent feedback. Good that you sent feedback. You know, it's interesting. I've seen a lot of people really kind of upset about the redesign. It's a little confusing, but that's why YouTube is testing it to see how people like it. And sometimes intuitively, people actually watch more even though they say they hate it. Craig says you can't remove the downloads and they still register views. Oh, it's interesting. I did not know that. I am not a YouTube Premium subscriber myself, so I actually don't have access to any of these features. I wanted to mention really quickly, YouTube released a bunch of studies about how people use the platform, how people consume content. And I will say that this is actually aimed at advertisers, so the tone is a little weird. But I thought it was really interesting that 65% of Gen Z, so they define that as being between the ages of 14 and 24, describe themselves as video content creators. And the important point there is that for younger people, they're not just consumers, they are also creators. The other thing I thought was really interesting about these studies, and you can get the links, check out the description to the links to my latest blog post. There's links to these studies. The others is looking at people who are fans and how they consume content related to their fandom. I think this is more relevant for creators, where I think it seems like it's not a surprising result at all that people who are fans of, say, Star Wars are interested in consuming Star Wars related discussions and breakdowns and other related content. So I thought that was interesting. You should check out the studies if you want to know more. It's mostly focused on Gen Z, and there's at least one study that goes up to people age 44. You know, they don't care what I like. So those are the updates for YouTube this week. I wanted to mention something that I think is a little weird and see what you guys think about it. The latest AI feature that is being pushed by companies who are trying to stick AI into everything is to make chatbots with avatars and tone based on creators. This seems really weird to me, but what do I know? So the first thing that was announced this week is Meta will enable influencers to create AI versions of themselves. This is for Instagram. So, you know, you make a chatbot based on yourself. And there was other news this week that says Google is working on something similar, maybe for YouTubers, and this is something totally experimental. So these may never actually see the full light of day, but I'm just wondering what you guys think about this. Would you want to chat with a creator chatbot? It seems really odd to me, and I think part of what is kind of giving me the ick about it is that it kind of reduces creators to sort of a character. And unlike on, say, a TV show where there's drama and there's actors and the actors play characters and you might interact with that character, creators are mostly themselves. And so it just seems very, very weird to reduce them. Eileen says that this is good for people who don't feel confident about the way they look. I think that's an interesting point. And again, that gives me really mixed feelings because I feel like to a certain extent there's a pressure, oh, you've got to look perfect. Obviously, I don't succumb to that pressure because I don't care that much, but I know a lot of people do. They feel really uncomfortable on camera. But does this reinforce that you need to have some sort of perfect look? I'm not sure. But one of the really cool features that was launched this week is BlackMagic Camera, the app, is now available for Android devices. I think it may only be available for Pixel devices and certain Samsung devices, sort of higher end devices. But BlackMagic Camera is really sort of more a professional video recording app for your phone. And the whole idea is you can get kind of Hollywood style cinematic recordings, make movies, and you can then download the videos onto your device. You can edit them, or you can upload them. Blackmagic has their own cloud. You can do that there. As they say, it's just like using a professional digital film camera. That's weird phrasing to me because what is a digital film camera? It's either digital or it's a film camera. But I think I kind of know what they mean, that it's for a professional recording, unlike the built-in camera app, which is more for fun. But it has all these settings. I downloaded it, I installed it on my Pixel phone, and it's like tons of manual settings: shutter angle, white balance, ISO, and you can record up to 8K resolution. And then you can go directly into a DaVinci Resolve project if you use that. That's another Blackmagic product. So this is really pretty cool. You can do kind of professional style filmmaking with your Android device. And Jolyn is saying she'll try it, let you know what you find out whether it works on a Chromebook, because Chromebooks can run Android apps. I suspect if it's not available for your Android tablet, may not be available for the Chromebook either, because the Chromebook doesn't have a camera that supports the recording and the various controls they have. That's my suspicion, but it'll be interesting to see how that actually works. And it seems like it'll be kind of fun to play with, get a more film-like vibe to your videos. All right. So I also wanted to mention that last week I talked about the option to add a correction notice to your YouTube video. If you want to see what that looks like, I added that to the archive of last week's live stream. That was June 23rd. There's also a link in the video description so you can see what that correction notice looks like and what happens when you click it. And I'm going to move on a little bit to information for website owners. So this is totally shifting gears. from the video creation now, if you have a website, if you have a blog, there's a couple things that you should be aware of this week. The first thing that you should know is that if you use Google Analytics and you use what they call Universal Analytics, UA, that's finally completely going away on July 1st, which is tomorrow. So Google Analytics moved to what they call GA4, Google Analytics 4, and they actually stopped collecting data on the UA accounts like a year ago. But this is your last chance to export the data from any UA properties, and you can migrate to a GA4 property automatically. I don't think that is going to be an option once the UA properties are all deleted starting tomorrow. So if you haven't done this, now is the time. And it's confusing, and I used to use the Universal Analytics all the time. GA4, I still haven't gotten into it. It's really heavily focused on marketers and people using Google Ads. So I feel like it's not really for me. So that's the first thing you should know. The second thing that you should know is if you use AdSense for search, you probably got an email notice from AdSense saying that there are upcoming consent management requirements for serving AFS ads in Switzerland. There's information in the article. It has to do with complying with the EU user consent policy. And it talks about using a certified CMP that integrates with the TCF or implementing various parameters on the ad requests. This sounds all kind of technical and confusing, maybe, if you are not into this. But the reality is, if you are using Google's consent management platform, what you have in your AdSense account, the one Google uses, Google has a consent management platform that you can enable in your AdSense account. If you have done that already, you shouldn't have to worry about this because it will be updated for showing ads to people in Switzerland. If you're using a third-party platform, you need to make sure that that's all configured correctly. So those are the two things that website owners should know about. I just wanted to say it's interesting in the chat today. Andrew says, people have trouble with the real me. I can't imagine what they would want to engage with a fake me. Maybe your fake you version sings and dances. Who knows? I think we're kind of in interesting times where the avatars they offer now are still clearly artificial, so they can't really fully replace a person. But that's what some of these platforms are working towards. I think, I'm trying to remember now, I think Microsoft Teams maybe has an option where you can have an animated avatar join the meeting on your behalf. Microsoft is also doing these sort of metaverse meetings still. Again, that doesn't seem appealing to me at all. Wear big goggles to join a meeting. Meetings are bad enough as they are. But I am not the market. So just to shift gears a little bit, I have a bunch of smaller updates, and let's see what we get through today. The first is that over on X, they are going to limit live streaming to accounts from premium subscribers. So you basically have to pay to live stream on X. If you're already an X subscriber, you should have access to this, but I suspect that this has to do with X trying to prevent some of the low quality, copyright infringing, maybe problematic live streams, which is what happens when everyone has access to it. I'm not sure anyone would pay specifically just to live stream on X unless you happen to have a large audience there already. Then over on Threads, they are expanding their fediverse integration. So this is something that I personally think is pretty cool, where you can post on Threads and someone, say on Mastodon, can follow you and engage with your post over on Mastodon. They don't need a Threads account. What has just been updated is that fediverse sharing is now available to more than 100 countries, except not the EU, apparently. I'm not sure why. That may be a regulation thing. The other thing, though, that's pretty big is that if someone in the fediverse responds to your Threads post, you can now see that response on Threads and engage with it. So, and those are pretty big updates, and it's really moving more towards full federation, where the idea is you're on Threads, you follow someone who has a Mastodon account and you can engage with their posts. Someone on Mastodon can follow your Threads account and engage with those posts, and it all cross-populates. I love this idea so that you can really just pick the platform that you want to be on and then engage with other people. It's sort of, the comparison is always to email, where you can have an email account on Gmail or Hotmail or your own servers, and those emails can communicate with each other no matter what because they follow set protocols. Over in the discussion, Andrew says, I don't know, you can search YouTube by age of watchers. So it's talking about things of interest to different demographics. What's interesting is that creators can see the demographics of their viewers, and I'd be curious to know what kinds of videos skew towards an older audience. And you might be surprised where it's probably not going to be the latest pop stars or whatever, but it could be a lot of overlap. Andrew mentions different things like tech. Tech, I think, has interest across a wide spectrum of ages. Genealogy, yeah, that probably skews older. Lots of other interesting things. But I find it kind of amusing and kind of annoying both, that when YouTube is presenting stats to advertisers, it's always like, here's what the young people like, here's what slightly older people like, and then over age 44, advertisers don't care. So they're not the most important demographic. And it's probably true that most viewers on YouTube are probably under the age of 50, but still. So the last thing I wanted to talk about today is an update on Bluesky. Bluesky has introduced something called starter packs. Now, if you're not familiar with Bluesky, it's another microblogging platform. It's much smaller than Twitter. It's much smaller than Threads, but it has a very passionate user base. I am actually on Bluesky. I don't post any tech things there. There's a lot of people, though, discussing science. There's a lot of science communicators who are over on Bluesky. People talking about science fiction. There's a lot of authors on Bluesky, and there's some politics discussions and so forth. What they introduced is called starter packs. And it's actually a really great idea where anyone can create a starter pack that has people recommended to follow, and Bluesky also has these feeds. They're curated feeds, not just curated with the people who are posting to them. It's actual individual posts that are curated. So if you are following the science feed, you should just get science posts from that. And then you can package all these together and share your starter pack with other people. There's a link, and it actually generates a nice preview card. And to my mind, every social platform should have something like this, because the hardest thing is when you join a new social network, trying to set up your actual network, who to follow, how to find content that you're interested in. Because if you just look at the algorithmic feeds, a lot of times it's sort of the lowest common denominator stuff, which isn't great. So if you're on Bluesky, you might do this, or recommend to other people that they create these on other social platforms. I truly, truly think that every social platform should let creators, let posters, let casual users create these starter packs to get their friends to join, or other people who are interested to join. I've already seen starter packs, like I mentioned, for science. I've seen it for various political things. I think it's really great. All right, so those are my main updates I wanted to talk about this week. There are some other updates that I don't have time for. Patreon is working on new community tools, including gifting memberships. There's new ways to share Pinterest pins. If you're over on Pinterest, you can now generate, it's like a very short video that kind of scrolls through your pins. It looks really nice, and you can use that to promote your Pinterest account on Instagram or anywhere else. And there's a whole discussion where the CEO of the Microsoft AI division said that he thinks everything publicly available on the web is freeware and can be used for anything, which seems like a very interesting stand to take. I wonder if Microsoft will back that up. So those are this week's updates. Again, I'm going to put up on the screen, if you want to subscribe to my newsletter, you can do that at Beehive or visit my website. There are links in the video description. And oh, one more thing in the chat, Eileen says, the advertisers know we don't care about their ads, and we are well trained on how to ignore them. True, true. They also know probably that some of the ads they create that are targeted at a younger audience won't resonate with those of us who've been around a few more years. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. Have a great week. If you're in the US, I hope you have a great 4th of July holiday, and I will see you next Sunday. Thanks again.